Ladies and gentlemen, there are certain behaviors and mindsets that, when adopted, slowly begin to erode the value you bring to any relationship. These subtle patterns of thought and action not only affect how you see yourself, but also how others, especially men, perceive you. Now, this is not about playing games or pretending to be something you're not. This is about understanding what truly diminishes your worth and how you can change it by shifting your mindset and action. The first thing that kills your value is seeking validation from others. Constantly seeking approval or reassurance from men, or anyone for that matter, undermines your self-worth. When you place your sense of value in the hands of others, you become dependent on them for your own emotional stability. This creates a power imbalance where your worth is contingent on someone else's opinion. The truth is, your value should never be dictated by anyone outside of yourself. When you own your value from within, when you know who you are and stand confidently in that truth, others can sense that strength. Men are drawn to women who don't need validation because they can see that you are secure in your identity. You don't seek their approval, and in turn, you gain their respect. The second thing that undermines your value is fear of being alone. When you fear being alone, it leads to clinging to unhealthy relationships or staying in situations that don't serve your growth. The fear of solitude often comes from a lack of understanding about how valuable your own company truly is. When you are comfortable in your own presence, you radiate confidence and independence. Men admire women who have a strong sense of self and can stand alone when necessary. This autonomy is not only attractive, but also shows that you value yourself enough to wait for the right connection, rather than settling for something less than what you deserve. The third thing that kills your value is constant self-doubt. When you doubt your abilities, your decisions, or your worth, it signals to others that you don't believe in yourself. This self-doubt creates a subtle desperation, where you may start seeking others' opinions or trying to gain approval rather than trusting your own inner wisdom. Confidence, not arrogance, is the most powerful quality you can bring to any interaction. It's the inner knowing that you are enough, just as you are, without needing to seek constant affirmation from others. Lastly, people-pleasing behavior will slowly chip away at your value. Always putting others' needs ahead of your own, sacrificing your own desires to keep the peace, or trying to constantly make others happy may seem like a noble thing, but in the process you lose sight of your own desires, dreams, and boundaries. This teaches others that your worth is tied to how much you can give, how much you can sacrifice. It creates a dynamic where your needs are never truly considered, and over time, the imbalance becomes clear. When you prioritize your own well-being and desires, men begin to see you as a woman who is worthy of respect, admiration, and equal investment. These behaviors don't just erode your value, they deny your true essence. When you stop seeking external validation, embrace your own company, trust your instincts, and stop pleasing others at the expense of your own needs, you unlock a powerful version of yourself. The true value you bring isn't in what you do for others, but in who you are when you embrace your own worth. This shift in mindset changes everything, not only in how you view yourself, but in how the world, especially men, sees you. When you operate from a place of self-respect and authenticity, you become an irresistible force in any relationship. Seeking validation from others is one of the most detrimental behaviors that can erode your self-worth and damage how others perceive you. When you constantly rely on the approval of others to feel good about yourself, you hand over control of your own value to external sources. This need for validation can manifest in many ways, whether it's through seeking compliments, waiting for reassurance, or trying to please people just to gain acceptance. When a woman places her self-worth in the hands of others, it creates an emotional dependency that diminishes her sense of independence and confidence. The real danger here is that you begin to define your worth based on others' perceptions rather than your own understanding of yourself. This makes you vulnerable to manipulation, as you start molding yourself into what others want or expect you to be, rather than showing up as your authentic self. It's not about finding affirmation from external sources, but building an internal sense of worth that is unshakable. When you look to others for validation, you give away your power. You are essentially saying that you can't trust yourself, and that your sense of self is contingent on other people's opinions or actions. This constant need for approval also creates a dynamic where your actions and emotions become influenced by what others think. If someone compliments you, you may feel elated, but if someone criticizes you, your sense of self-worth may crumble. This fluctuation leaves you constantly chasing external signals to feel good about yourself, which becomes an exhausting and unsustainable cycle. The truth is, your value doesn't need to be affirmed by anyone else. It comes from within. When you trust your own abilities, decisions, and worth, you no longer seek validation from others. You stand confidently in your own truth, and that confidence becomes magnetic. People are naturally drawn to individuals who are secure in themselves, who don't need external validation to feel complete. When you stop seeking approval, you reclaim your power and your value becomes undeniable. Fear of being alone is one of the most powerful forces that can negatively impact a woman's self-worth. When you fear solitude, it often leads to settling for relationships or situations that don't align with your true values or desires. This fear stems from the misconception that being in a relationship, no matter how unhealthy, is better than being alone. Women who fear being alone may tolerate poor treatment or compromise their own happiness simply to avoid the discomfort of solitude. However, embracing being alone is where true strength lies. Solitude offers an opportunity to reconnect with yourself, to learn about your own desires, and to develop a deep sense of self-reliance. When you are comfortable with your own company, you become less likely to make decisions out of desperation or fear of loneliness. Instead, you become more selective about the relationships you allow into your life, understanding that your own company is valuable and you deserve nothing less than what aligns with your standards and needs. This comfort with being alone also enhances your sense of independence. You begin to realize that your happiness does not depend on another person and that you are capable of fulfilling your emotional needs without seeking external validation. It's about developing a sense of wholeness that doesn't require a partner to complete you. Men are naturally drawn to women who are self-sufficient and who value themselves enough to wait for a relationship that enhances their life rather than one that merely fills a void. When you stop fearing being alone, you create space for healthier, more fulfilling relationships. It shifts your mindset from one of scarcity, where you feel the need to grab onto any relationship, to one of abundance, where you trust that the right relationship will come in due time. Fear of being alone diminishes when you realize that solitude is not something to escape, but a powerful tool for self-discovery and growth. Constant self-doubt is one of the most destructive forces in any relationship, particularly when it comes to how you view yourself and how others perceive you. When you allow self-doubt to dictate your actions, thoughts, and decisions, you become trapped in a cycle of insecurity that can undermine your confidence and self-worth. Self-doubt manifests when you question your abilities, second-guess your decisions, and wonder if you are truly enough. This constant internal questioning weakens your sense of self and creates an emotional barrier between you and others. When a woman is consumed by self-doubt, it often leads to seeking validation from external sources because she doesn't trust her own judgment. She may constantly look for reassurance from others, whether it's asking for approval or trying to live up to someone else's expectations. This behavior not only signals insecurity, but also diminishes your autonomy. The truth is, when you doubt yourself, you inadvertently allow others to have power over your emotions and actions. The more you question your worth, the less likely you are to take risks, to pursue your passions, or to express your true desires. You begin to suppress your authentic self in favor of what you think others want or expect from you. Self-doubt also prevents you from setting boundaries and standing firm in your decisions. When you lack confidence in your own abilities, it becomes easier to let others walk over you or manipulate your actions. But when you trust yourself and your intuition, you cultivate a sense of inner strength that cannot easily be shaken by external opinions or pressures. This self-assurance creates a powerful presence that others, particularly men, are drawn to. They respect women who trust themselves and make decisions with conviction. Eliminating self-doubt begins with accepting yourself as you are, with all your strengths and imperfections. It means understanding that mistakes and imperfections are part of your journey, not a reflection of your worth. Trusting your instincts and taking action based on your own beliefs and values will naturally reduce self-doubt and empower you to live more authentically. The more you trust yourself, the less room self-doubt has to control your life. People-pleasing behavior may seem harmless or even admirable on the surface, but in reality, it is one of the most destructive habits a woman can adopt in her life and relationships. When you constantly put others' needs ahead of your own, seeking to gain approval and avoid conflict at all costs, you diminish your own sense of value and identity. This pattern of behavior often stems from the desire to be liked, accepted, or loved. However, the price of people-pleasing is high. It leads to the suppression of your own needs, desires, and boundaries, all in the pursuit of keeping others happy. When you're constantly focused on pleasing others, you start to lose sight of who you really are and what you truly want. You begin to shape your actions, decisions, and even your emotions around what others expect or need from you rather than staying true to your own authentic desires. Over time, this leads to feelings of resentment, frustration, and burnout because you are giving more than you are receiving. You may also find yourself in situations where your needs are neglected or unimportant because you have trained others to believe that your happiness comes second to theirs. People-pleasing also often leads to an unhealthy power dynamic in relationships. When you constantly try to make others happy, you may inadvertently create an imbalance where your partner or others begin to take advantage of your generosity and selflessness. This behavior can erode respect because without boundaries, your value becomes dependent on what you can give rather than who you are. Men are naturally attracted to women who know what they want, who set clear boundaries, and who do not sacrifice their own needs just to make others feel comfortable. By breaking the habit of people-pleasing, you reclaim your power. You start honoring your own needs, desires, and emotions, and you communicate these with confidence. When you learn to say no, to prioritize your own well-being, and to stop trying to constantly make others happy at your expense, you begin to create a life that reflects your true values. In doing so, you not only protect your energy, but also attract relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. When you continuously seek validation from others, it creates a toxic cycle where your self-worth is tied to external approval rather than your inner confidence and sense of self. This habit often starts subtly with small acts of seeking reassurance or needing others to confirm your worth, whether it's waiting for compliments, asking for others' opinions before making a decision, or constantly checking social media for affirmation. This behavior stems from the belief that you are not enough on your own. When your value is defined by how others perceive you, it leads to an emotional dependence on their approval. This means that when you do receive compliments or praise, it may offer temporary relief, but it is always fleeting, leaving you chasing more and more outside validation to fill the void within. This constant need for validation also compromises your ability to make decisions confidently. When you rely on others to dictate your choices, you lose the ability to trust your own judgment. You start doubting yourself and second-guessing your actions because you're constantly wondering how others perceive you. It may cause you to avoid taking risks or stepping outside your comfort zone for fear of judgment. The truth is, when you don't rely on your own inner guidance, you are simply allowing others to dictate your path. What is often forgotten in the pursuit of external validation is that true self-worth comes from within. The foundation of lasting self-esteem is built on self-acceptance, self-compassion, and the understanding that you are worthy without anyone else's approval. Once you stop seeking validation from others, you open the door to genuine freedom. Your decisions, actions, and emotions are no longer influenced by external sources. Instead, they stem from your own inner strength. You begin to trust yourself and own your decisions with confidence. This level of self-assurance is magnetic, and when you stop seeking validation, you find that others naturally respect and admire you for your authenticity. When a woman constantly seeks external validation, it creates an emotional imbalance in her life. Seeking validation means looking outside yourself for approval, whether from a partner, friends, family, or even strangers. This external validation becomes a foundation for your sense of worth, but it's a foundation built on shaky ground. The problem with seeking constant validation is that it causes you to depend on others for your own sense of security and self-esteem. As a result, you lose touch with your own inner value, and the opinions of others begin to define your self-worth. What happens when you place so much importance on external approval is that you start measuring your actions, decisions, and appearance based on how you think others will perceive you. You may find yourself changing who you are to meet someone else's expectations or agreeing to things you don't truly want just to avoid criticism or rejection. This compromises your authenticity, and deep down, you know that you're not fully living in alignment with your true self. When a woman stops seeking validation, she starts embracing her own worth. She understands that she doesn't need the approval of others to feel complete. This realization leads to a greater sense of confidence because it is rooted in her own self-acceptance, not dependent on fluctuating opinions. She becomes less affected by the judgments of others, freeing herself from the emotional roller coaster of seeking approval. This shift from seeking validation to trusting yourself also affects the way others perceive you. Men in particular are drawn to women who exude confidence and self-assurance. When you stop relying on others to affirm your worth, You begin to create a magnetic energy that attracts respect and admiration. You become the architect of your own value, no longer seeking approval, but instead living authentically and confidently, secure in your own skin. This inner strength becomes an undeniable force, radiating from within and drawing others to you. The fear of being alone is one of the most pervasive challenges that can diminish a woman's self-worth and value in any relationship. When you fear solitude, you may start to attach your sense of worth to being in a relationship, regardless of whether it's healthy or not. This fear often leads to tolerating situations or connections that don't truly serve you, simply because the idea of being alone feels unbearable. You might find yourself staying in relationships out of convenience, or out of a belief that being in any relationship is better than being alone. However, what this mindset neglects is that your personal growth, happiness, and value do not depend on the presence of someone else in your life. Embracing the idea of solitude is a transformative shift. It's in moments of being alone that you can learn to reconnect with yourself, discover your own desires, and begin to cultivate a deep sense of self-worth. When you are content with your own company, you begin to understand that you are whole, complete, and deserving of the best, regardless of whether you are single or in a relationship. The fear of being alone gradually fades when you realize that being by yourself is not a punishment, but an opportunity for self-discovery and empowerment. This shift changes the way you approach relationships. Instead of feeling desperate to be with someone to fill a void or avoid loneliness, you begin to value relationships that align with your true self and desires. When you are comfortable being alone, you stop settling for relationships that are less than what you deserve. Men are naturally drawn to women who have a strong sense of independence and self-sufficiency. The ability to stand on your own 2 feet and remain secure in who you are is incredibly attractive, as it signals emotional strength and resilience. The fear of being alone diminishes when you embrace solitude as a time for growth and self-reflection. As you learn to trust yourself, your needs, and your worth, you attract relationships that are rooted in mutual respect and authenticity rather than dependency. When you allow self-doubt to govern your actions, it not only undermines your confidence, but also diminishes your value in the eyes of others. Self-doubt is the silent killer of progress, as it traps you in a cycle of insecurity, preventing you from fully trusting your own abilities and judgment. It's the voice in your head that constantly questions whether you are good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough. This internal battle of second-guessing yourself causes hesitation, inaction, and missed opportunities, leaving you unable to fully step into your power. Self-doubt is often rooted in fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of not being accepted. It makes you question whether your desires, dreams, and decisions are valid. When you are constantly doubting yourself, you begin to shrink and minimize your presence, making yourself smaller to fit into the expectations of others or to avoid standing out. But this behavior does nothing but erode your value. The more you allow self-doubt to dictate your actions, the more you rob yourself of the chance to prove to yourself what you are capable of. This constant self-questioning also affects the way others perceive you. People can sense when you lack confidence in yourself. It becomes evident in your body language, your tone of voice, and even in your words. When you don't trust yourself, you send a message to others that they shouldn't trust you either. On the other hand, when you embrace self-assurance, even in the face of uncertainty, your presence becomes magnetic. Confidence is not about being perfect or never feeling fear. It's about trusting your ability to handle challenges and knowing that you are capable, regardless of the outcome. The key to overcoming self-doubt is to cultivate self-compassion and trust. It's about acknowledging your fears and uncertainties, but not allowing them to control your actions. By taking small steps to trust yourself more and stepping outside of your comfort zone, you will begin to build confidence and prove to yourself just how much you are capable of. People-pleasing behavior can be one of the most detrimental patterns in a woman's life, especially when it comes to her self-worth and relationships. It often comes from a place of wanting to be liked, accepted, and valued by others. But what many fail to realize is that it erodes your sense of self and can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and burnout. When you prioritize other people's happiness over your own, you send the message that your needs, boundaries, and emotions are less important than those of others. This creates an unhealthy dynamic where you are constantly giving, but never receiving what you truly need in return. The core issue with people-pleasing is that it stems from a deep insecurity, the belief that you need to be everything to everyone in order to be worthy of love and respect. In doing so, you may lose touch with who you truly are and what you truly want. You might say yes to things you don't want to do, ignore your own desires, or avoid conflict at all costs, simply to keep the peace or maintain approval from others. The more you try to please, the more you give up your own power, and the more you allow others to take advantage of your kindness. People-pleasing creates an unhealthy power dynamic in relationships. It causes you to give up control over your own choices and compromises your boundaries. Without clear boundaries, relationships become one-sided, where you are constantly the giver, but never the receiver. Men, like everyone else, are attracted to women who know their worth, who stand firm in their values, and who are not afraid to say no or walk away from situations that don't serve them. Breaking the habit of people-pleasing involves reconnecting with your own needs and learning to prioritize yourself. By setting boundaries, asserting your needs, and being honest with yourself about what you want, you shift the power dynamic in your relationships. This is not about being selfish, it's about being self-respecting. When you respect yourself and your time, others will naturally follow suit, and you will begin to build relationships based on mutual respect and authenticity. Constantly seeking validation from others can significantly diminish your value and self-worth. When you rely on external approval to feel good about yourself, you give away your power and place your emotional well-being in the hands of others. The problem with this is that the validation you seek is often temporary, shallow, and unpredictable. It creates an endless cycle of seeking praise, compliments, and approval, only to find that once you receive it, it doesn't bring lasting fulfillment. This cycle continues as you become dependent on others' opinions to affirm your sense of worth. The need for external validation stems from a deeper insecurity, the belief that you are not enough on your own. When you tie your self-worth to what others think of you, you become vulnerable to their judgments, which can change from one moment to the next. This leaves you in a constant state of emotional fluctuation, chasing approval and losing your sense of identity. Over time, you may find yourself sacrificing your true self, adjusting your actions, appearance, or behavior to fit what you believe others want or expect from you, rather than staying authentic to your own values and desires. Seeking validation from others also impacts your ability to make decisions with confidence. When your self-worth is tied to external factors, it's difficult to trust your own instincts or make choices that align with your true desires. Instead, you may find yourself second-guessing decisions or making choices based on how they will be perceived rather than whether they align with your values and goals. This leads to a life that feels inauthentic, as you're constantly trying to please others instead of honoring your own truth. True self-worth comes from within. It's the understanding that you are valuable, not because of what others think of you, but because of who you are at your core. When you stop seeking validation from others, you take back your power and begin to trust yourself. This shift creates a sense of inner peace and confidence that doesn't rely on external approval. The more you trust yourself and believe in your own worth, the less you will need others to affirm it. This self-assurance is magnetic and naturally attracts respect and admiration from others.